Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where real estate meets real life skills. Hosted by Andrea Lane and Alissa Bicar, each episode features investors turning their unique edge into long-term rental success.
Hello and welcome to the Built for This podcast. I am your co-host, Alissa Bicar, here with my co-host, Andrea Lane, the Fearless Real Estate Investor. We are interviewing some real estate investors who are active in the pursuit of growing their portfolios. Andrea, over to you.
So I'd like to introduce you to Dayna Klein. She and I have been working together for a number of years now. She owns a portfolio of apartments and apartment buildings. In addition, when her father passed, she became the trustee executor of a number of apartments for him as well. So I'm very excited to have her on and talk to us today. So Dayna, I know you already have properties, but why did you get into real estate? What was your driving force?
Well, I thought it was going to be a great way for us to make money and to allow my husband to retire from his job at a reasonable age so that we could still do other things. I have family members that have been investing. In fact, it goes back to my great grandmother, who, after burying her husband and 3 children before she was 19, ended up joining a wagon train out to California, married a younger man. The younger man started messing around with her sister. They left for the circus, believe it or not, and he was part of the circus. He came back 2 years later, hat in hand, said, "Please take me back." And she said, "Only if you'll build me some properties." So she had him build her 7 outbuildings on her acreage that she'd managed to purchase. And she rented those 7 outbuildings out to workers on the train because the railroad was very close to her house. And so anytime there was any problem, she could be dependent or independent and not have to depend. She had a husband who died. She had a husband who left her and messed around on her. She had a sister who wasn't, being honest with her. So she just decided she was going to take matters in her own hand and do it that way. She passed that on to her kids, and her kids all had properties. And then my parents had properties, and so on and so on and so on.
So it was a legacy that you already had that you're just building upon for your kids.
Right. And we thought it was going to be just as simple as they did it.
So what is it that you love most about real estate investing and owning properties?
I would not say there's anything I love most. I think there's things that I've learned to tolerate most when it comes to owning real estate and investing. There's processes now that are very difficult to maneuver at times, especially if you're living in one place and your property's in another place. There's certain laws, there's certain restrictions, there's regulations, there's all that kind of stuff that you have to learn. And then once you learn it, you're like, okay, I got that. And then every place has a different way of handling problems. And you may think that everybody does things the same way, but they don't. And sometimes you become dependent on handymen and everything else, and that turns crazy because you're far away. So I have learned that I like being closer to the project. I like being able to talk to the people that are doing the work. And I like being able to have a say on exactly what it is we are going to pay, because I'm tired of just getting these magic bills.
Yeah, how would
Get it?
I mean, knowing that there's always something new to discover, something new to learn, whether or not you asked for the tuition or not. There's something to be said for continuing to keep your saw sharp, but like managing the categories of risk and the categories of learning. So, tell us a little bit about, what you do as a profession, and maybe how some of that professional skill set and personal skill set translates into how you handle real estate.
Well, I had gone from being a major gifts and grants writer for a national nonprofit and then got into real estate. And I really enjoyed real estate. My parents had been brokers and I enjoyed real estate. Well, I decided if real estate's that good, it must be great to go into commercial. So then I went into commercial, and that's 2 different animals. It's completely different. It doesn't provide you for what you need. So since then, I've had to sharpen my saw, so to speak, by learning methods of bookkeeping, tax structures, filing taxes, making sure that improvements are made, what's a depreciation, what's an appreciation, what's a this, what's a that. So as a commercial agent, I help people to buy and sell their businesses. So if you've got a business and you want to buy or sell a business, then that's what I help you do. I also help people with leasing space for that business or selling that space for that business. And I thoroughly enjoy that. And it's really a lot of fun, because usually when somebody's building a business, they're so excited about getting in. And when somebody's done with their business, they're so excited about getting out. So it seems to be pretty happy both ways, coming and going. It's not sad. And I like that. But doing multifamily and rentals and everything else, I mean, my husband is a certified program manager, and has his PMP licensure and has been doing stuff for the government. And sometimes I'll come across and he's like, so they want us to do what? I was like, well, you just have to keep reading, just keep reading. So we're learning to be patient. We're learning to read things thoroughly. One of the biggest mistakes I could say we've made is putting emotion into everything. We went to all this fancy training. We thought we were so equipped. We had all these wonderful tools. And then we stalled out for 3 years, did nothing, right? And then all of a sudden you decide, we're going to go big or go home. Gosh, we're going to make this start. And we jumped in on the deep end way too deep. And we've since learned that emotion should not be part of it. Emotion needs to be removed. The numbers are the numbers, and you need to be honest with yourself about whether this does or does not meet what you need. Because just because a property is a good property doesn't necessarily mean that it meets what you need it to do. If you need it to generate a certain amount of income and be low maintenance and provide affordable housing, that's different than a 20-unit apartment building that was built in the 1800s. It's going to have lots and lots and lots of problems.
Yeah, and learning from where you've been and applying those lessons. I mean, I kind of had all these questions lined up for you. I feel like you've just kind of arced the whole story and given us a really cool, like, holistic picture of, we started with all the tools and techniques and thought we were good to go. We hit a bump that stymied us for a bunch of years. Then we went big and then went home, and, take it for what it is. So when you said your husband had certifications and you were in commercial real estate, partnering those two things up, do you feel that those skill sets gave you an unfair advantage somehow?
I would not say that it's an unfair advantage, but I would say it's a very hard fought education. And that education is a wonderful advantage. When you know what doesn't work, when you know that something that isn't bringing you joy, when you know that there's just weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth over one specific area all the time, you get really clear about what doesn't work. And I don't care how cute it is or fuzzy or fluffy or whatever it is. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you need to remove emotion out of it and just say, this is not a wise choice for me. Now somebody else may be just fine, but this is not a wise choice for me. And that was a hard thing to do, because we thought once you bought property and once you invested, you should really put your heart and soul in it. You're going to make this fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. Sometimes it just isn't. Sometimes it just isn't. And you've got to remove that emotion. And I think that's one of the hardest parts for a new investor. You're so excited. I've got my first door. I've got my second door. My dreams are on the way. My hopes will be realized. It's going to be fantastic. And then until it isn't. And then, and then you're like, when did I not see this? Why is it bothering me so much to do this? But I have to say, this has been one of the most exhaustive, time-consuming, and I would say financially, prohibitive education we've ever had about something, because all of the things that we have done wrong has taught us so much. And people tried to tell us things, but it can't be real, until it's real for you. When you're sitting with that vacancy and you're having that problem, it's very real, and it's not the joy you were looking for, and it gets very hard.
Yeah. I love how you said you have to take the emotions out of it, because once you come out of the love affair of what fantasy you have of what it could be, and then the rubber meets the road, and you tactically stay in motion and say, okay, well, how do we address this, and what comes next? And managing this project becomes a labor of love, because you want the result from the investment, but you're not necessarily in love with the process of it. And I think, that's one of the big benefits I feel like Andrea brings to the table in my life too, is that she's like, what are the facts? Let's take the emotions out. What are the facts here that you're actually looking at? And so, for me personally, I'm like, yeah, this is it. I've had to learn this lesson real hardcore myself a bunch of times. And Andrea's been the one holding the 2x4, helping to smack me in some sense. Andrea, Mike, over to you. I mean, what are you picking up so far from Dayna's
Yeah,
endeavors here?
so I think my secret sauce is that I don't like properties. I don't like houses. I love real estate. So I never get emotional about a real estate purchase. If I'm involved in it, I look at the property, I look at the numbers, and they either work or they don't. And if they don't, you have to walk away. And when you first get into real estate and you don't have somebody backing you up and making sure you're making a business decision, not a emotional decision, you get in a situation where you have what doesn't work. And we've all been there, including me. My first rental was not based, it was based on I wanted a property and I was gonna get it. Nothing else was right about it. So yeah, it's really tough when you get in with expectations and love the property, because I could care the less about a house, even my own house, right? I care about what it can do for me in the future. I don't care what it does today. So it's all a numbers game to me.
It's interesting you say that, because our perspective and our lens has also changed. First we were like, we want our doors. If we, I remember saying, if we could make $100 per door, think of what we could do. That is not enough. That is not enough.
Well,
and that was the wrong perspective. So now it's like, how can this property serve the goals that we're working towards? How is this a cog in the machine, that is working towards the goals that we're looking to realize? And once you understand that, it's not just a dollar number. Oh, I'm going to have, if I make $100, I'm successful. I'm this, I'm that. It just takes one little teeny tiny problem, and you are just wiped out.
yep.
And it's frustrating, because you should be making money.
That's the goal. But actually, reality comes into real estate rentals, right? People say they make money the first year. They'll tell me they make $200 a month profit. And I'm like, well, how much are you putting away for your future maintenance and your CapEx? And the answer is nothing. So you made a profit this year, and next year you may be paying $20,000 out of your pocket because you don't have any money to fix things. So it's really understanding your processes. And you've learned it, Dayna. You've learned it through doing, through learning and being. And yeah, I get
Yeah.
Well, even in Mastermind, the systems and things that we've set up, the training that you've had, insurance is crazy. Insurance is so expensive. I mean, insurance can add so much to your bottom line as far as draining the joy out of that deposit. And writing those tax checks can just, between taxes and insurance, people are like, you pay what? You pay what? I was like, I know, just for the privilege, it serves us no benefit. And when you go through all that stuff and you realize, hey, I need to do things smarter. I need better insurance. I need to make sure my taxes are such so that when I buy, because there's certain areas you can buy in and go across the street, the taxes are completely different. I've learned in Pennsylvania, a lot of things are carved up into little teeny tiny boroughs. And depending on where you're at, each one has their own little special rules and laws. And I can't tell you how many times I've been going to jail over grass, because there's one particular area that does not like long grass. And heaven forbid you should have lots of rain and sunshine and grow your grass, because somebody will measure it and let you know it's 6 1/4 inches high. And I'm thinking, that is, and you need to charge me $50 to let me know that it needs to be mowed. And I'm thinking, I call the property manager and they were like, it's so wet, we haven't been able to mow. And then they say, well, they'll give you 14 days. So no less, I've received 5 letters where I'm going to jail over grass or vines or a burnt out light bulb. And I'm like, don't you believe that's a waste of the court's time? It's got to be expensive.
I understand. I get a letter in the summer. I probably get a letter a day about one of our properties that has a problem with grass. And
Yeah.
it's not that they don't cut it. It's not quick
No.
enough for them. The weather's been very rainy. You can't cut it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And so like I feel like, Dayna, I've gotten a PhD in what not to do by listening to you. And so like I feel so blessed that we get to share some of these like real stories from the road, because you do not get this in a classroom. You do not get this in a, here's what to do and I'm going to show you. This is more the real stuff that happens day to day. And so as we continue forward and we bring this interview to a wrap, what are some of the exciting things you're working on in the next 6 to 12 months?
One of the most wonderful things is on one of our apartment complexes for the last 2 years, we've been trying to refinance. The interest rate was high. It's been so difficult. And we find all of the stars have come into alignment. We've got occupancy. We've done repairs. We've done improvements to it. We qualified for low income. We have all of this stuff. And now all of a sudden we have 2 lenders that are like, hey, we would like to be, your new lender. And I was like, well, then woo me. Show me what you got, give me the romance. And then they're both like, okay, and then I'll say, well, this one is this is a far more romantic deal. Look, I get this, I get this, I get this. And then immediately the other one comes back and says, I can beat that. I was like, well, why didn't you beat it the first time? I don't want to have to play this game. But that's been fun. That's been really fun because first of all, I didn't know that was even an option. I just happened to mention, hey, so-and-so says they want this. And we actually got contacted by the bank who processes our mortgage. And they said, we want your loan. It's a shame that you're a local business, your local properties, and we don't have your loan. And I said, it is a shame. What are your rates? And then he's like, because it's an out-of-state lender and they want it in-house. And so when they started talking, I was like, well, show me what you can do. And they did okay. And then somebody else said, hey, we would like to have you and we can do this. So then I went back to the first one and said, you guys already have our money and I'd much rather choose you, but they've got a much sweeter deal. So now they're getting better. So, and then my husband's like, how long can you do this? And I said, till we're happy.
Fine.
Are we happy?
Make or break a deal. And I love that you're working on financials and stabilizing and reducing your outlays. That's incredible. Andrea?
Oh, we had to. Yeah, we had to. It was just crazy. I was amazed at after we got into one property. It turns out one of the guys from the tax assessor's office for the borough or for the state or the county, I don't know what it is, lives right across the street from us. And the stories he told us of all of the nefarious things that were going on in the apartment building that we just purchased, and how somebody should tell the owners. Of course, we didn't say we were the owners. Somebody should get this straightened out. Somebody should clean this up because the police are here 3 nights a week. And these aren't stories we heard. This isn't anything we knew.
Yeah.
So sure enough, the police actually said they were afraid to go down to the end of the street because things had happened. And so they would only go to the beginning of the street. And I said, well, that's crazy. We want to be good neighbors. What can we do to make it better? So we've been doing that. And we actually got a love letter from the police and said, thank you so much. We haven't had a call in 3 months. I can't tell you how happy we are. So woo! I was like, okay.
Great.
That's really...
So Dayna, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your experiences. They were amazing. And that's how I like to teach, by what not to do. I can tell you how to do things right, but what not to do is really the secret sauce. So if people want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to DaynaKleinSells.com or DaynaKleinSells@gmail.com, sorry. Or telephone 540-602-8483. I answer my own phone. I have to tell you though, Alissa and Andrea, you guys provide such a service and such knowledge. And I love the mastermind group and sharing with others out there. I can't tell you how many times we've benefited from just little things that somebody will say or something that somebody found and shared with the group. And you're like, oh, me too, me too. So I just thank you guys for doing this. Thank you for putting it out there. And if anybody is looking to invest, truthfully, I think you need to go to these guys to start. I just think it'd be well worth it. It's a much more affordable, timely, and targeted education that will give you real world knowledge and real world encouragement and coaching. So that's my testimonial. That's what I can say, because we've done the wrong things. So do the right ones.
We love supporting and learning real time.
Yes,
Oh my God,
very
it's
much.
wonderful. And thank you so much. It makes me almost want to cry, and I'm not a crying person when people are so generous with their praises.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys earn it. It has nothing to do with me wanting to, add any fluff. I can't tell you, Andrea, how much you've saved us. I mean, just with your knowledge, with taxes, with John Hire, with everything. I mean, just you share. And now that you're partnering with Alissa, it's nice to get the other component. So it's a more balanced education. And I really like that.
Thank
Well, I mean, you heard it here, ladies and gents.
You
Like,
did.
we support real
This is
estate
an unpaid endorsement.
to do what they do better every day and to continue to learn in community. Thank you so much for sharing your time here on the podcast. If you are listening to this on your favorite streaming platform, stay tuned. We have another episode coming right after this. Don't go away.
This wraps another episode of Built for This. If you're a real estate investor with a unique edge, apply to join us at builtforthisshow.com/guest.